In last week's video, I briefly mentioned what physics is now calling the E8 lattice. This is a new science called emergence theory that goes beyond the quantum field and even fills in the blanks that mainstream science, string theory, and M theory all have missed. Because I'm always reminding you that you are creators, I would love to at least try to expand on how science and spirituality have merged together to allow us to understand how it works to change, jump timelines, manifest, or in short, create your own reality. Now that science is getting closer on how this is possible, it helps to show you that I'm not just blowing smoke up your ass. Please know that I'm not an expert, but I am consulting with who I like to call my crew on the other side, which likes to throw a bunch of crazy things like quantum science in front of my face and tell me to read on it. So I'm giving you the basics on my perspective, and if you want more, I highly suggest reading up on the E8 lattice or emergence theory for yourself. Personally, I am fascinated by quantum science and how it works to use within our realm to create our reality and jump timelines, and even gaining important ability to speak with other beings on the other side of the veil, which is now being lifted. If you look deeper within the E8 lattice, it also shows you how our past can be changed by our future. Yes, you heard that right. You can actually change the past because, as I've touched on before, time and space don't actually exist. So you're actually living all lives at the same time, which is why it's so important to stay in the present moment and go within for the answers that you've been craving your entire existence, which really has no end or beginning. Yeah, so it gets weird. So here we go, and we're starting right now. We have talked before about physical reality and the way it's presented to us as like a play, and you're an actor in your own film reel. We know that our emotions are influenced by the planets and why it's been projected onto us, possibly through a satellite, which could be our moon, because of its influence on our emotions, and water, which is why we are made up of mostly water, because it holds memory. Crystals can also be formed through water and salt, and they most certainly hold memory. And don't forget that we are made up of over 70% water, along with Gaia herself. Many of us have seen the results of Dr. Masaru Emoto's frozen water droplets after being taken from the same water source, spoken to through different array of emotions, and then frozen under a microscope. This proves that our thoughts are alive and our emotions can be stored through crystalline structures. Crystals hold this memory in its structures, and we all know that crystalline structures are found all over the world in many ancient cultures. Objects such as the globally recognized crystal skulls are thought to be supercomputers because they hold information, and it's because of the way that the water structure aligns itself by arranging its atoms in a specific pattern. This alignment is called periodic, so in reality, crystals are only patterns that spread out infinitely. Now, do you see how a seemingly three-dimensional object can actually cast a two-dimensional image as a shadow? It can also look very distorted because of the angle of the projection to make up different patterns, even though the 3D object is seemingly set and non-changing. The 2D image now has its own pattern and even multiple patterns that are casted off of the one object, but it's no longer periodic. This means that the two-dimensional object is not a crystal. In fact, it's now called a quasicrystal. But clearly, there's a deep connection between the third dimension and the second dimension. A quasicrystal is actually a projection of a crystal in a higher dimension. Are you with me so far? Physicists in Los Angeles, at a place called Quantum Gravity Research, which is linked for you in the description box below, have been working on an 8th dimensional crystal called the E8. This E8 crystal projects onto 4D as a 4th dimensional quasicrystal, and from this 4D crystal is derived a 3D quasicrystal, which is believed to be the substructure of all of reality. Wild, right? Now, bear with me. The 3D quasicrystal has a fundamental building block called a tetrahedron. Okay, so I was never a math nerd, although I'm kicking myself in the ass right now, wishing that I would have known about this when I was in class because I would have actually attended it in the first place. I'm secretly, or okay, maybe not so secretly, hoping that our systems fall, as I've stated in other videos. And this is exactly why. I'd love to see our children being taught these things instead. This is why you hear about the kids with disorders like ADD, ADHD, autism, and others being told that they can't pay attention in class. This is why. The newer generations are coming in more advanced and they're not being taught anything that their higher selves deem worthy. Show them things like E8 and how to navigate the stars, and we'll I'd be willing to put money on the fact that they'd be teaching us within a few years. Our system isn't set up for this for that reason, but that's all changing in the next few years because this shift is happening. Mark my words, this is why I told you in my very first video on this platform about the building blocks of life and the shift. Actually, it was my second video. We're just now getting into some of the good stuff because we're now in the eye of the needle. I'll explain that sometime soon, but for now, just know that the world is getting crazy only because we're shifting into higher realms, such as new dimensions, and therefore the old structures are being called out of the shadows in order to fall away. This is actually a really good thing. Anyway, I told you that I love to go off on tangents, so back to the tetrahedron, which, as I said before, is now seen as the building block of our life or reality. This is a three-dimensional equilateral triangle, which each of the sides of the edge of this triangle is the smallest possible length that can exist, which I'm sure you've heard of and don't even realize it. It's called the Planck length, which is similar to a pixel on a two-dimensional screen, aka your very own film roll, as we've talked about in other manifestation videos. If each one of these quasicrystals filled all of the space in the universe, and each tiny tetrahedron only can exist in a few different states or angles that you make up your film reel or your screen on your film reel, this is what you see as reality. Remember the double-slit experiment? If you don't, check out the video link that I've posted up above on quantum jumping into parallel realities. Now, what this experiment says is that reality is carried out by the consciousness of the observer. Who is the observer? God, source energy, in short, you. You are the one that is creating your reality by observing the fabric of reality in physical form. Each one of those little pixels are turning by way of what you're thinking about and what your outcome will be on a subconscious level. And this is why you're going within or meditating is so important to develop your skills in manifestation, as well as actually manifesting your psychic abilities, aka navigating your awakening and taking your power back. The awakening is only your consciousness realizing that it has been sleeping for quite some time. In this sense, at least in reality of what I'm seeing, we've allowed other non-creator beings to set in place the direction of your emotions and use it to manifest the fabric of 3D reality. I don't want to freak you out on this one, but I'm going to let you in on a little secret. You're seeing the work of these non-creator beings crumble as we speak. Do you get why I get so excited? Does it look scary? Yes, unless you have a higher dimensional view on what's really happening. This is what makes it amazing and the crazier it gets. It means we're gaining our power back and raising our frequency to higher dimensions. Now, as I say that, I'm sure it's jarring to many, but so far I've understood this to be not as negative as it sounds. We're all particles of God, which means we're not divided from Source, therefore we are Source. It gets confusing to me at times too, so don't worry, and I'm still on this journey too. But on a higher plane, we are the negative beings as well. And we put ourselves in the way of ourselves to learn how to navigate our inner worlds. Does that make sense? Moving into higher frequencies means being able to step out of the shadows and into the mother crystalline patterns to see reality from each dimension and take the most knowledge and experience from it. That was a mouthful and a bit confusing. Might want to rewind that again. Regardless, this means that you are everything, which also means that you have been a mineral, which is also a shadow of a higher crystal grid, as well as you experiencing reality as a plant, and every animal, in all races and sexes of humans, non-humans, planets, galaxies, and so on. This brings us to a whole other realization of being able to care for our planet and respect all things and beings, because time and space don't really exist. And all timelines and realities are running parallel to each other, which is literally you in every pixel, in every film roll or reel, and in every possible way that each dimension has existed and casted its shadow upon. You have lived and played out all timelines, and all you have to do is to remember who you are by projecting your consciousness onto a wider perspective and into a higher dimensional reality until we merge with each one to become whole again. I may just be crazy, who knows, but it's much more fun to lift us out of the lower realms and into the higher ones and try to make sense of it all. And it's really nice that we have science and physics to validate that this is even possible, which so far it seems most likely the case. Hold your power and move higher by going within. I'm going to link a very powerful but easy guided meditation below. Actually, I have 2 of them so far. And these meditations actually have a higher frequency at 432 Hertz, so that you automatically raise your vibration as you go within. This will help you to manifest and dive deeper into your own inner peace, power, and guidance. Please remember to like and subscribe and hit that bell so you don't miss on future knowledge as I post every week. And give this video a thumbs up if you're feeling that resonance, because it helps me and the YouTube algorithm to find me. It also helps me to make sure that you enjoy the content, and then I can keep creating more for you. Welcome to your ascension, powerful creator. I'll see you in the next video.